All right, well, when my middle child was just 3 years old, he showed himself to be a rebel by holding his entire extended family hostage on one of our summer vacations. And he did this by standing in front of our rented beach house with a spraying garden hose. And whoever came near, he shot him. So he shot his aunt, he shot his uncle, shot his brother and his sister, he shot everybody. He held us all at bay for about 10 minutes with his spraying garden hose. And I knew that, we needed to do something. We ended up sending in his 13-year-old little skinny blonde our niece, to go in as hostage negotiator and kind of talk him down. And so she went in and she said, put down the gun, which he did. But the whole time, he had a smirk on his face, and I could kind of tell that he was sort of in his head laughing maniacally, because he was at the start of a childhood during which he would do nothing but excel, get better at holding those around him hostage. For instance, whenever I went to the playground, other parents would come running over to me, alarmed, saying, "Did you know your kid is riding his tricycle down a set of steps? Or is that your kid in the street riding a skateboard upside down with his hands on the board and his feet in the air?" Or invariably, there was some concern about him jumping out of a tree, jumping over a ravine, whatever it was. But every time I said the same thing, which was, "I'm just going to look the other way. Let me know if he gets hurt." And I could afford to have this attitude because he had shown me that he was unusually well coordinated, he knew how to take calculated risks, and he hardly ever got hurt. But at the same time, I felt like I was held hostage by the idea that I might be wrong about that. And I might actually be a really bad parent that was negligent and irresponsible. And that I ought to be running over and saying, "Cut it out before you get hurt." But instead, I took a calculated risk, and I trusted in his rebel nature. So by the time he was a teenager, we had a fairly well-established pattern in our family of hostage situations where he, demands and negotiations. He negotiated just about every limit we ever set on him. And he inspired us by his talk back, by, fighting and slamming doors and being a rebellious teenager who didn't want to do anything we wanted to do. Inspired us to ground him regularly and to take away his electronics every other day, to separate him from his friends. And at nearly 6 feet tall and 180 pounds, he was inspiring us to kind of get creative with some other problems that were coming up, in particular his escalating jumping. So now he was jumping over mailboxes, and he was jumping over his younger sister. He was literally jumping over the hoods of cars. So I ended up going to the high school coach and kind of apologizing because my kid wanted nothing to do at all with being on a track team. And I asked the coach, "What the heck do I do with a kid who's jumping so much?" And we ended up being directed to Lehigh Valley, where there's a pole vaulting club. And I know that sounds like something my kid would probably love to do, but no, he's a rebellious teenager. He wanted nothing to do with it. And I ended up, it required two of us, my husband and I both, to haul him out of his bed, drag him down the stairs, cram him in the car and slam the door, head up to Lehigh Valley. It was just the two of us. My husband stayed home. But I was in for a little bit of a surprise because it was a long, quiet ride there. And when I got there, my hostage wouldn't get out of the car. He refused to get out of the car. So I go inside by myself and I wait. I stand around, I wait, and I wait, and I wait. And eventually he shows up. And in he comes, and I'm a little bit surprised to see what he looks like because it's not what I remember because he's got on different clothes. I'm thinking, where the heck did he get that? He's got on a white t-shirt I've never seen before. It has red letters on it, and the more I look at it, the more I can tell these are hand-drawn letters. I'm thinking, how the heck did he do that? Would he just grab a crayon in the car and start scrawling out his message to the world? I look more closely and I see that he's a victim and he's shouting out for help because this t-shirt says, "My parents are making me do this." And I just kind of back up against the wall with the hope of not having to be identified as the parent and watch to see what he does. And what he does is he stands in the middle of the room with a pole on his shoulder, a big chip on the other shoulder because he's mad. And he doesn't want to be there. And we both survey the scene. I see the same thing he sees, which is a room full of happy kids running and jumping and doing drills and doing the thing he loves, which I suppose is what inspired him for the second half, because he did eventually try this. And lo and behold, before we were done, he cleared a bar at 6 feet using a pole. Turns out he could do it. He could pole vault on his first try, on his first day. And so he, of course, wanted to come back. He came back over and over again, and he learned to pole vault. He joined the school team, and today he holds the indoor track record at our high school for 13 feet. So you would think this is where the story ends. The rebel has been subdued, but no. The truth is, a rebel once, a rebel forever, because we were feeling kind of smug about having gotten this kid through the rebellious teenage years and out of the house in one piece. And we were a little bit surprised because we were a little bit wrong about that, because one day we get an email from him, hadn't heard from him in a while, and the email is entitled Bungee Jump. And before I open it up and see what it says, I hear in my head the maniacal laughing. Thank you.